during the campaigns, when this whole ASUU thing was going on, one of the things that I expected ASUU to do at that point, knowing that the Buhari government wasn't willing to budge, but of course, Chris Ngige was doing a good front end for the government at the time. So I expected the ASUU president to actually negotiate with the candidates, at least the 3 or 4 main candidates, to say, what are you going to do for us? We're willing to call off this strike and go back to school, but can we go into an agreement that if you win, this is what is going to happen? They didn't do that. Now they're asking Tinubu to pay them this withheld salary, and of course there's a court ruling on that they shouldn't be paid because according to the industrial court, they didn't work. So where do you think all of this is going?
Nigerian politicians actually do not keep to promises and agreements. Even if ASUU had negotiated with the candidates as at that time, immediately they come into power, they will forget everything about ASUU. And the crisis in the Nigerian investing system is actually something that is becoming very pathetic to present generation and even the generations that are yet to come. But for some years now, it has been the same story every time. There is nobody that passes through any investor in Nigeria that you will not experience series of strikes within that 4 academic section or 4 or 5 years that you will spend in the investing. And if you look at those in power today, during their time, they enjoyed free education. Everything was virtually free.
True.
Many of them attended schools in Nigeria. I remember in the 80s, university education was almost free. The tuition fee then was very, very minimal, which many people were even happy at. And the feeding also, there was a time the federal government of Nigeria was running a free feeding system for Nigerian students. I remember also that even feeding then, they used to give Nigerian students a quarter chicken. That's 4 students sharing a full chicken. But today, how many governments are doing that? There's nothing like federal government scholarship again. That time, people used to experience it. Nothing like the bursary that students usually get from government to augment to support their education. Nothing like that is coming again. The few scholarship that some students are getting is either from these international oil companies or other government agencies outside the country. So our present-day generation now is not benefiting anything from the Nigerian system. They are not gaining anything. What those in power are doing is killing the system. Otherwise, which explanation can you give that a government will have successive government from 2009 till date? The 2009 agreement that ASUU is talking about, we've had over how many strikes because of one agreement that the government will not want to implement. One agreement that the government doesn't want to respect. And you want lecturers to just sit back and be clapping for the government. 2009 till now, how many years? A child that was born in 2009, how old will that child be now? And up to now, ASUU is talking about the government, begging the government to honor an agreement that they willingly entered into. I don't think it is fair to Nigeria. It is not fair to Nigerian educational system. And it is also not fair to this present generation. What the government is doing now will eventually affect productivity in the future. Because any government that does not actually pay attention to the education of our citizens is actually shooting herself on the foot. Because education is actually the bedrock of development. It is the bedrock of everything that we do. When people are educated, insecurity, economic problem, and all the problems that we have in the society will be less. But by the time the government continued to ignore repeatedly the investment that she's supposed to make in that direction, then you will see that the government is actually not wishing Nigerian people well. ASUU has a right to ask government to pay for those 8 months. Because the university lecturers, what they operate, the system they operate, is different from that of other civil servants. their working time is not only the time they spend in the classroom. Even when they are at home at their private time, they are carrying out research. They are reading. They are preparing for lectures. They are interfacing with other agencies that other universities many of them are visiting professors or research fellows to many professional institutions spread all over the world. Even while on strike, they still perform those other duties behind the scene. It is not just going to class. Okay, so the strike actually was for the teaching aspect. I believe, I support ASUU actually requesting the government to pay those 8 months salary to them.
Okay, here is another interesting part of this conversation. ASUU so far, the lost academic year, they say they have recovered it. Basically, through the excruciating economic situation, they have recovered that lost time.
Yeah.
Now, instead of talking to Tinubu, maybe pleading or asking him, it wasn't really Tinubu that made the law. It wasn't even in government at the point. Don't you think it would be wise for ASUU to go back to court to make this demand?
To go back to court?
Yeah, request to go back to court or write official, do something, but wait, because it is industrial court that say do not pay them because they didn't work for these 8 months under the no work, no pay policy. Now, if you say you have covered the academic year that was lost due to the strike, isn't it right for you to go back to the court to say, hey, this is this, or do whatever you need to do through the Labour Ministry to ensure that you're paid? Having this meeting, I was talking about it in the media, they have their lawyer, Falana. Shouldn't we be seeing a legal process here? I mean, do you see this government, without being pushed, doing anything about this?
You know what Nigerian judicial system is, how it operates.
Well,
our judiciary is actually not independent. It's supposed to be, but it is not so, with the kind of system that we are operating. So I don't even think ASUU will have the confidence of going back to the court. And if they have to go, the process may also take a very long time.
But it is the court that determined that they should not be paid because according to the courts, they didn't work. Now they have covered up that academic year, and theirs is no longer affecting anything they are doing in the school system. Shouldn't it be a reason for them to say, hey, you did say we're not going to be paid, now we have taken care of that. Can we get our money?
They can do that. Even within us, we have many legal luminaries in ASUU. They are actually the people that train many of the lawyers, all the sons and the people in the legal profession in the country. So I think it's a decision that ASUU can actually look at and say, okay, let's go this way. But that route, I don't think, maybe they feel it won't be the right route for them to take.
So if Tinubu's coming in and he hasn't talked about anything concrete about their plight last year, if he's sitting back and saying, hey, I wasn't, for instance, maybe that's not my problem because I wasn't even in office when that happened. It's something that happened between you and my predecessor. What then do you think should be the role of ASUU right now? Because it's, if you think about critically, what is the reason why you will not pay people who worked?
Government in Nigeria is supposed to be continuous.
No, government is supposed to be continuing. Yeah,
policies and decisions do not end with one government.
True.
Tinubu coming in at this time doesn't mean that all the problems that were there before he came into power, he should just overlook them. It is still the responsibility of this present government to look into all the problems of ASUU.